Every winter, great white sharks begin disappearing from some of the richest hunting grounds on the eastern edge of the Pacific, along the coasts of California and Mexico. Adult sharks have spent months patrolling waters filled with seals, sea lions, and other energy-rich prey. These coastal habitats appear to offer everything a large predator could need. Yet many of the sharks suddenly turn away from the land and begin swimming west, leaving behind familiar hunting territories for an enormous stretch of open ocean. Their destination lies roughly halfway between North America and Hawaii, more than 1,000 miles from the coast. There are no seal colonies, rocky islands, or obvious feeding grounds waiting there. From space, the region appears blue, empty, and almost lifeless. But every year, great white sharks cross the Pacific to reach it. Scientists call this mysterious gathering place the White Shark Café. The name suggests a restaurant, but when researchers first identified the area, it appeared to contain very little food. The cafe lies near the northeastern edge of the North Pacific subtropical Gaia, a huge system of rotating currents commonly associated with warm, clear, nutrient-poor water. Compared with the productive California coast, it seemed like an oceanic desert. The sharks were abandoning waters rich in marine mammals and traveling for weeks toward a place where the surface showed few signs of biological abundance. The journey itself challenged the old image of the great white as a coastal predator waiting near beaches and seal colonies. Electronic tags revealed that adult sharks were capable of highly directed oceanic migrations, covering thousands of kilometers. Many returned to the same coastal regions later, suggesting that they were not lost or wandering randomly. They appeared to know where they were going and when it was time to leave. A shark leaving Central California enters a world without visible landmarks. The coastline vanishes behind it. The seafloor may lie several kilometers below, far beyond sight. There are no mountains, islands, or shallow reefs to guide the animal. The shark must navigate through open water while currents push from different directions and storms transform conditions at the surface. Exactly how great whites navigate across this distance remains uncertain. They may use the position of the sun, Earth's magnetic field, ocean currents, temperature boundaries, chemical signals, memory, or several systems working together. Sharks possess sensory organs capable of detecting weak electrical fields, and many species appear sensitive to magnetic information. But the complete map inside the mind of a migrating great white remains hidden. What is clear is that the journey is not a simple drift. Tagged sharks travel through the ocean with direction and later return towards specific coastal feeding areas. Some repeatedly visit the same regions over multiple years. The migration has become part of their annual life cycle. As the shark travels offshore, its behavior changes. Near coastal seal colonies, a great white may remain relatively close to the surface, patrol the edge of an island, or move through depths associated with marine mammal prey. In the open ocean, the shark begins using the vertical dimension of the sea far more extensively. It dives hundreds of meters into cold, dark water and later returns toward the surface. Sometimes it remains deep for extended periods. At other times, it rises and falls repeatedly, creating a pattern of rapid V-shaped movements through the water column. When the sharks finally reach the cafe, this vertical activity can become intense. Tagged animals have performed repeated oscillating or bounce dives, descending and immediately rising again. At night, some dives remain within roughly the upper 100 or 200 meters. During daylight, the sharks can descend much farther, sometimes reaching approximately 450 meters or beyond before returning upward. A shark may repeat these movements again and again throughout the day. Instead of resting after its long migration, the predator appears to patrol the water column. It moves from warmer surface layers into colder, darker water where oxygen levels may be lower, stays only briefly, and turns upward once more. This behavior demands energy. A shark must continuously move water over its gills to obtain oxygen. Descending and ascending repeatedly requires muscular effort, particularly when the animal is swimming faster than it would while gliding passively. Whatever the sharks are doing must provide enough value to justify this activity. The first possibility is feeding. Although the surface of the cafe appears relatively unproductive, the open ocean contains a hidden ecosystem beneath it. Hundreds of meters below the waves lies the mesopelagic zone, sometimes called the twilight zone. Sunlight reaches this depth only weakly. The water is dark, cold, and inhabited by fish, squid, crustaceans, gelatinous animals, and other creatures rarely seen alive by humans. Many of these animals participate in a daily vertical migration. During daylight, they remain deep, where darkness protects them from visual predators. After sunset, vast numbers rise toward the surface to feed. Before sunrise, they descend again. This migration may help explain the shark's changing dive depths. During the day, potential prey remains deeper, and the shark follows. At night, the animals move upward, allowing the shark to search within shallower water. A predator that adjusts its depth to match this biological movement could continue feeding far from coastal seal colonies. The White Shark Café may therefore be a restaurant after all, but its menu is hidden beneath the surface. Instead of seals and sea lions, the sharks may consume deep-sea fish and squid. A great white, famous for explosive attacks on marine mammals, may spend part of the year behaving like a pelagic hunter, searching through a vertically moving world of smaller prey. The 2018 scientific expedition to the cafe found that the region was not as empty as its surface appearance suggested. Researchers documented layers of microscopic plant life and diverse animals living in deeper water, remotely operated vehicles, acoustic instruments, nets, environmental DNA, gliders, and autonomous surface vehicles revealed a biologically active ecosystem concealed beneath the blue surface. The discovery strengthened the feeding hypothesis, but it did not completely solve the mystery. The sharks' movements are not identical throughout the season. Their diving behavior can change with time, location, and sex. Male sharks, in particular, may perform extremely rapid oscillating dives during part of the year. They rise and fall repeatedly through the water column, sometimes completing many cycles in a single day. Females can show different patterns, and some mature females travel farther west toward waters near Hawaii, rather than remaining inside the same central gathering region. These differences suggest that the cafe may serve more than one purpose. The sharks may be feeding, searching for mates, or shifting between both activities depending on the month and the individual. The possibility of reproduction is especially intriguing because humans know remarkably little about where great white sharks mate. Their courtship has rarely been observed, and no one has produced a complete description of mating behavior in the wild. Pregnant females and newborn sharks are also difficult to study, leaving major gaps in the species' life history. If adult males and females converge in the same offshore region, the café could provide opportunities for them to locate one another. Repeated vertical dives may allow males to search different depths for females, detect scents or electrical signals, display physical condition, or patrol a limited gathering area. Researchers analyzing tracking data found spatial, seasonal, and sex-based patterns that resemble some elements of a mating aggregation. Males may concentrate within a relatively restricted part of the café while performing high-energy vertical movements. However, no direct observation has confirmed that mating occurs there. The truth may not require a choice between eating and meeting. The café could provide both prey and reproductive opportunities. A shark traveling thousands of kilometers cannot ignore food indefinitely. Feeding within the twilight zone could support the energetic demands of migration and mating behavior. At the same time, a predictable food source could help bring sharks together. If multiple individuals are attracted to the same rich layer of deep-sea life, the gathering increases the possibility of encountering potential mates. Food structures the meeting, while reproduction gives the gathering a second purpose. This combination occurs throughout nature. Animals often breed where seasonal resources support the energy required for courtship, competition, and pregnancy. The café may represent a large-scale version of the same principle. Hidden in the open Pacific, the shark's descent into deep water also exposes it to major physical changes. Temperature can fall rapidly below the surface. Light disappears. Pressure increases. Oxygen concentrations can decline in certain layers. Yet the great white is unusually capable of operating across these conditions. Unlike most fish, it can retain metabolic heat within parts of its body. Blood vessels arranged in countercurrent exchange systems transfer heat from warm blood, leaving active muscles, to colder blood arriving from the gills. This regional endothermy allows the swimming muscles, brain, eyes, and internal organs to remain warmer than the surrounding water. The shark is not fully warm-blooded like a mammal, but it can maintain high-performance tissues at temperatures that would slow many other fish. This helps it move between warm surface water and colder depths, while continuing to hunt effectively. Still, the deep layers cannot be occupied without limits. Cold and reduced oxygen create physiological stress. The shark may descend quickly, investigate or attack prey, and return to a layer where conditions are more favorable. The result is the repeated V-shaped profile seen in the tagging data. Each dive becomes a brief raid into another world. At the surface, sunlight illuminates warm blue water, hundreds of meters below. The shark enters near darkness. Lanternfish, squid, and other animals may appear as faint shapes or flashes of bioluminescence. The shark's senses become more important as vision loses range. Its lateral line detects pressure changes and movement. The inner ear responds to low-frequency vibrations. Its sense of smell can recognize chemical traces. Electroreceptors around the snout detect electrical fields generated by the muscles and nerves of living animals. A fish attempting to remain invisible in darkness can still produce signals the shark is capable of following. The great white's eyes also contain adaptations that improve vision under low light conditions. The shark may not see the deep ocean as humans would, but it is not entering the darkness helplessly. Its sensory system evolved to combine incomplete information from multiple sources. A moving shadow, a vibration, and a weak electrical field may together reveal a target, because direct observation is almost impossible at these depths. Much of this behavior must be reconstructed from electronic tags. A pop-up satellite archival tag records depth, temperature, and light while attached to the shark at a programmed time. The device releases, floats to the surface, and transmits or stores information for researchers. The tag does not show every animal the shark encounters. It cannot always confirm that a dive ended in a successful meal, but the movement profile reveals when the animal entered deep water, how long it stayed, and how often it repeated the behavior. Scientists can compare these records with acoustic surveys of prey, ocean temperature, oxygen levels, currents, and biological layers. Each additional measurement turns a line on a graph into part of a living event. A shark descends at noon because prey may be deep. It rises after sunset because that prey is moving upward. It enters cold water only briefly because the layer is physiologically demanding. Another shark performs fast oscillations because it may be searching for a mate. The tags have transformed the great white from a coastal silhouette into a long-distance ocean traveler. The annual cycle begins near productive coastal habitats. In late summer and autumn, adult sharks return to locations such as the Farallon Islands and other parts of the California coast, where elephant seals and sea lions offer large, energy-rich meals. Some individual sharks display strong sight fidelity, returning to familiar hunting areas year after year. They may remain for months, feeding and building reserves. Then, as the season changes, they leave. The departure initially seemed irrational. Why abandon prey-rich water for the middle of the ocean? But the shark's life cannot be understood through feeding alone. Reproduction, migration, competition, environmental conditions, and access to different prey all influence its movements. A coastal seal colony is valuable, but it cannot satisfy every stage of the shark's life. The cafe may offer something the coast does not. The journey also separates different age groups. Young great whites usually remain closer to warmer coastal nursery habitats, feeding on fish and rays. They do not appear to participate in the same extensive offshore migration as mature adult. The cafe is largely an adult world. Reaching it requires size, endurance, navigation, thermal capacity, and possibly sexual maturity. The migration may mark a transition into a later stage of life. A juvenile patrols shallow coastal water. Years later, after growing larger and changing its diet, the same shark begins traveling beyond the continental shelf. The seafloor falls away. The animal enters deep ocean and eventually follows a route used by adults before it. There is no parent guiding it. Great white sharks do not travel in family groups or teach their young a migration path. The route must emerge through inherited tendencies, environmental perception, individual exploration, or a combination of these forces. The shark reaches a place it has never visited and begins performing behaviors seen in other adults from the same population. That fact alone makes the migration extraordinary. Social interaction may also occur at the cafe. Although the sharks do not form cooperative pods like orcas, multiple individuals use the same broad region, and males can converge within a smaller area during periods of increased diving activity. The sharks may detect one another through scent, movement, electrical fields, or visual contact. They may investigate, avoid, compete, or follow. A place that appears empty to humans could be socially significant to an animal capable of sensing another shark from beyond our visual range. The name White Shark Café can therefore be misleading in a useful way. It suggests a building where animals sit together. But the actual gathering may occur across hundreds of kilometers and through many layers of water. One shark may be near the surface while another moves 400 meters below. They occupy the same ecological meeting place without ever appearing together in a human photograph. The cafe is not a single point. It is a three-dimensional volume of ocean. Its boundaries may shift as currents, temperature, prey, and seasonal conditions change. The sharks do not arrive at a fixed table. They move through a dynamic habitat whose most important features are invisible from the surface. Climate change could alter those features. Warming water can shift prey distributions, change oxygen layers, and transform the currents guiding productive regions. A habitat used predictably for generations may become less reliable. Fishing activity in the high seas can also affect deep water prey or directly threaten sharks through accidental capture. Because the cafe lies far from national coastlines, protecting it requires international awareness and cooperation. Great whites are powerful predators, but their long lives, slow reproduction, and late maturity make populations vulnerable to human pressure. Losing adult sharks has an especially serious effect because each mature individual represents many years of survival before reproduction becomes possible. Understanding the cafe is therefore not simply about solving an interesting mystery. Scientists need to know which habitats are essential during different stages of the shark's life. Protecting coastal feeding grounds while ignoring offshore migration routes would leave a large part of the annual cycle exposed. The animal does not recognize human boundaries between national waters and the high seas. Its habitat is the entire route, somewhere west of California. An adult great white swims beneath an empty horizon. The coastline disappeared weeks earlier. The shark has crossed cold currents, warm water, storms, and depths extending thousands of meters beneath it. A tag attached near the dorsal fin records the journey. As the animal enters the cafe, its movement begins to change. It leaves the surface and descends through clear blue water. 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters. Light fades. The temperature falls. The surrounding pressure increases. Small animals fill a deep layer invisible from above. The shark turns upward. Minutes later, it returns toward warmer water, but it does not remain there. The body bends. The tail changes direction, and another descent begins. Down and up, down and up. The pattern continues through the night. Perhaps the shark is following Squid rising from the depths. Perhaps it is searching for the scent of another great white. Perhaps each dive accomplishes both purposes, feeding in the twilight zone while moving through a place where potential mates are also gathering. At sunrise, prey begins descending. The shark follows deeper. Its muscular temperature remains above that of the surrounding water, allowing the predator to continue moving through the cold, hundreds of meters below. It accelerates towards something the tag cannot identify. Then it turns and rises again, for months. This cycle repeats. Eventually, the shark leaves the cafe. It begins traveling east, guided toward a coastline still far beyond the horizon. Later in the year, the dorsal fin appears once more near California. The same shark that spent spring repeatedly diving in the middle of the Pacific now patrols a seal colony close to land. Its behavior changes again. Instead of moving through hundreds of meters of open water, it waits near an island and searches for marine mammals. The predator has returned to a familiar world, but its offshore life remains written inside the tag data. The White Shark Café forces us to see the great white differently. It is not simply a monster beneath a surfboard or a coastal ambush predator waiting for seals. It is an ocean-crossing animal capable of navigating without landmarks, exploiting deep ecosystems, and returning to the same seasonal habitats. Its world stretches from sunlit coastlines to the dark twilight zone. From rich seal colonies to remote waters once described as a biological desert. And the central mystery remains open. Do the sharks travel there primarily to eat? Do they arrive to reproduce? Does the answer change between males and females? Or from one month to the next? Science has uncovered the root, the depths, and the hidden life beneath the surface. But it has not yet translated every movement. That uncertainty is what makes the cafe so extraordinary. Hundreds of large predators leave an obvious food source and cross an ocean toward a place humans barely understand. Once there, they spend their days rising and falling through the darkness, following a schedule no observer can see from above. The water appears empty. The shark knows it is not. Far beneath the surface lies a moving ecosystem of fish and squid. Somewhere in the surrounding ocean, other great whites are performing the same vertical dance. The cafe may be a feeding ground, a meeting place, a reproductive arena, or all three at once. Whatever its full purpose, it is important enough that the sharks return. Every annual migration carries them away from the familiar coast and toward the unknown. Every dive reveals that their lives extend deeper and farther than their reputation suggests. A great white disappears beneath the blue surface. The tag records another descent. The shark enters darkness, turns at depth, and begins rising again. Above it, the Pacific looks silent and empty. Below it, the cafe is open.